maybe?
Freshly harvested.
What? Well, welcome back. We're looking at my cover crop experiment. As I said in a previous video when I planted this, the whole purpose of this experiment is to determine whether or not we can plant through this dense cover crop. So with this cover crop, what's going to be very difficult to plant through is this particular plant right here. This is called hairy vetch, and if we get a little closer, you can see they try and tangle. Actually, that was a pretty good demonstration of it. And what this will do, if we just planted the hairy vetch, it would just make a mat, which would be very easy to plant through. However, if we plant it mixed with rye, which there's some other things in this mix, but this cereal rye grows up and the vetch will climb that rye, therefore making a better canopy, more biomass, and thus more nitrogen will be produced that way. So the idea here is cutting back on synthetic fertilizers. We are cutting back on a spray pass, saving on herbicides, because when we roller crimp this, anyway, I forgot what I was talking about, but the whole moral of the story is I wanted to give you guys a snapshot update of what this cover crop looks like. Lots of roots in this soil and a great cover. You don't see any bare soil. So when we roller crimp over this is what I was trying to say. When we roller crimp over this, it will cover the soil. If I just lay this over, there's no sunlight hitting this soil, and therefore the weed seeds that are on the surface are not getting that sunlight that they need to start growing. So if a weed seed germinates, if it has to travel more than 3/4 of an inch through that mat, it's going to die if it doesn't get sunlight in that 3/4 of an inch on average. Now some weed seeds are bigger than others, but in general, so we're mitigating a huge amount of weeds, cutting back on synthetic fertilizers and chemicals, cutting back on a sprayer pass, saving economically some money, and a much more sustainable system. This is feeding the microbes in the soil because there's a living root, feeding a lot of insects. When we roller crimp it, I'm sure there's a lot of insects getting squished. That's more nitrogen for the soil, and I think this is a much more economically and environmentally sustainable system. So I'm pretty excited. You can hear the birds are happy. It's a beautiful evening, and I wanted to come down and check out this cover crop experiment. So stay tuned. In about a month, I believe it will be mid to late May, we're going to come in and try and plant through this with the Alice Chalmers planter that we got in another video, another regenerative video. So you can come and see that in action. This is now April 14th, I believe. So progress update, you can see how tall it is. At its highest, it's above my knees. At its lowest, it's not that great, but you know, this was experimental. I didn't have the planter set up the greatest, and it was a fairly late planting date. I did that on purpose to mimic what it would be like to plant after harvesting full season soybeans. Now, if we can get the proper equipment, I should say, we can plant this pre-harvest with a aerial application of a drone spreading seed. We can actually plant that into a green soybean cover, or into a green soybean crop before it's harvested. And then when we come through and harvest, this cover crop might be this big, but that depends if we can get our hands on the equipment or find somebody to do it. If not, we're going to have to plant in the end of September, up before October 15th, I believe, which is going to make a lot shorter cover crop, which is going to, of course, not be as effective. So yeah, I look forward to it. Check back in about a month and see what happens when we go to plant through this. Thank you guys. God bless you. If you like this video, check out some of the other videos, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends and people of common interest.